So today we will talk all about Arbitrum. This might be news to you, but Arbitrum is actually making a significant comeback. We're starting to see some major moves for it, both on the fundamental side and the marketing hype is starting to pick up on crypto Twitter. And this is not just some random narrative. There's actually two main initiatives that's coming up for Arbitrum that are actually very big. So we'll get into both today, and I'll dive into exactly what's happening on Arbitrum's price action, how I'm planning to take advantage of this potential narrative rotation, and some of the top Arbitrum altcoins that are worth watching out for the next 3 months. So that's the agenda for today. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dennis. I'm a crypto angel investor for the past 5 years, and I have invested in over 100 crypto startups. So on this channel, I share my views on market trends and investing strategy. Before we get started, I wanted to point out a couple things that we have going on. So number one, if you have a crypto startup idea, if you are a founder and you are at the angel to pre-seed stage, our fund actually have a accelerator program that's starting up called Symbiote. So you can go on symbiote.gg, and if you have a startup idea and you are just starting to form your team and you have some coding skills, you're looking for co-founders and initial funding, check out this program. We're starting our first cohort very soon, but be aware, this is only for founders. This is not some investing, trading program, etc. This is not my community. This is our company. So if you have a builder team, make sure to sign up. This we could be a lot of help for you. And secondly, make sure to join our trading Discord, discord.gg/virtualbacon. I'm starting to finally put together the VIP program where we are going to have daily market updates and trade alerts, trade signals, and discussions. And also, I have a copy trading event already set up with Fairdesk, and you can find all of our links on virtualbacon.com. Okay, so let's get into the news with Arbitrum. What is exactly driving this Arbitrum interest, and why do I think Arbitrum has really big opportunity for next couple months? So two things. Number one is EIP 4844. This is a major upgrade coming to Ethereum and especially benefiting Ethereum Layer-2s that I have already talked about many times this year. So here is the gist of EIP 4844 briefly. So EIP 4844 is an upgrade coming to Ethereum that's called proto-danksharding. This essentially will lower fees for rollups by introducing a new type of storage called blobs. So here is the gist of it. So once blobs are deployed to mainnet, they are completely unlocking a new set of use cases for Ethereum Layer 2s because rollup transactions, the cost of them is expected to be reduced by at least 20x. And here is very briefly how it works. So right now, you have these Ethereum rollups, these Layer 2s, for example, zkSync, Optimism, Polygon, Arbitrum, and these guys all have to store their Layer 2 transaction snapshots periodically onto Ethereum Layer 1. So this is things like zk proofs, transaction hashes, etc. Right now, they have to store all of these on the main Ethereum blockchain. So these are the costly transaction state storage. Once blobs get introduced, these Layer 2s can especially take advantage of this. So this is why it brings specifically cost transaction fee saving benefits for Layer 2s. And here is a brief estimate. So right now, you see the Layer 2 rollup fees for Optimism, that's at 38 cents for a decentralized exchange swap. For Arbitrum, that's 26 cents. Polygon zk EVM, 24 cents. And you see after EIP 4844, these are all expected to be reduced by at least 10x, if not more. So 10x is the lowest estimate. And the timeline for this EIP 4844 upgrade has been pushed over and over. The earliest timeline they had was second half of 2023, but now most of the experts are saying either by the end of this year or January-ish 2024 is when this upgrade will go live. So that's very brief for EIP 4844. Essentially, most of the layer 2s on Ethereum today will benefit significantly from this, because once these transaction fees get actually reduced so much more, at least 10x more, it unlocks new use cases, because you can do 10 more transactions for just the same cost as before. So you can handle a lot more microtransactions, and if your application wants to just enable no cost transactions, they can do that, because these fees are so low that they can just take that on and supplement it. So I have made a whole deep dive video on this whole upgrade way back in August when I talked about optimism, and you can go check that out with this video. Okay, so that's the first narrative, first major upgrade that will benefit Arbitrum by the end of this year. Now, the second one is the main topic that is new, and that is with the new Arbitrum incentive program. So here it is. The program's name is very direct. It's called Arbitrum Short-Term Incentive Program, ASIP. So what is this exactly? So this is a incentive program that will distribute up to 50 million ARB tokens from the Arbitrum DAO treasury to boost their community, to boost their decentralized application and DeFi use cases and ecosystem total value locked. So let's get into the timeline for this. So what exactly when this will come out? So here is the timeline for how this is going through. So this initiative first started on September 1st when they had their forum post, and we are right about at the first week of October when we are at the first voting period. So here's the process of how this program goes. First, they asked the community, should we actually distribute these funds to our ecosystem in order to bring new traffic, new users to the Arbitrum ecosystem and bring new hype? And this passed both through a forum post and through this snapshot vote you see here. After this whole proposal, they put out this snapshot vote here where all the Arbitrum token holders could vote. And you see the vote passed with 50 million, up to 50 million ARB tokens distributed as rewards until January 2024. So this was the majority passed. Okay, and then after that period, then they put together this application format where Arbitrum ecosystem projects can come in and apply for these new tokens to distribute to their application users. So this period is where we are in right now. So you see, the applications started on September 28th, and they just ended, and the voting and reviews just started on October 5th, and they will last until October 12th. So what does this look like? What does this mean? So basically, we are at the stage where Arbitrum already decided that they will distribute 50 million ARB tokens to their ecosystem applications until January next year. And now we have over 100 of these projects that have already came in and submitted their applications. So Blockworks actually has a spreadsheet that outlines all of these guys that have submitted a proposal. So you see, how can I zoom this in? Yeah. So you see down here, they have GMX, Mux, Gains Network, Lido Finance, Radiant, Camelot, JonesDAO. So all of the top Arbitrum ecosystem projects are submitting proposals to get a certain size of grants from this initiative. And this will boost all of their users because these tokens will be distributed to the traders, to the users, to the lenders and borrowers of these projects directly, which means the rewards on all of the Arbitrum applications will see a significant boost in the next 3 months. Okay, so that's the gist of this program. Now, in terms of timeline and motivation, and how do we actually play this? So really briefly, I want to draw you an example from Optimism's OP Summer initiative last year to see the effects of this. So here we have the OP Summer, and this was a very similar program carried out by Optimism, where they distributed the OP token last year, so from July to August 2022. So the amount was right here. So they distributed 51 million OP during Optimism Summer, this program. And the exact worth was about $50 million because Optimism was worth around $1 at the time. I think $1.20, so that might be $60 million. So slightly higher dollar amount versus Arbitrum's total amount, which is 40 million, but very similar. And the timeline was also very similar, so that's why we can draw a comparison to this. Now, when this happened, what exactly happened to Optimism? Well, first, we saw huge boost in the transaction per day and transaction volume for Optimism overall. So you see here, they saw about, typically the transaction average on Optimism was around 50K to 100K. But after this program came up, it got a significant boost for 1 month where daily transactions average over 150K. So that's a transaction boost. And also here we have the Optimism total value locked across all their DeFi applications. And if we go back to the here, if we go back to July 2022, you see right here. And let me bring up a drawing tool. So you see right here, from July 10th, 2022 to August 10th, 2022, the total value locked on Optimism went from $280 million all the way up to $1.1 billion. So a 4x increase, 3.5x increase within 1 month just from this incentive program. Because why? Well, it was very clear. People, even when they had just been holding Ethereum or Bitcoin or stable coins, it still made a lot more sense for them to put their money into Optimism in order to chase these higher yields, because all of the DeFi applications on Optimism had much better yield for this period than other chains, simply because they were distributing these extra OP tokens on top of it. So that's the total value locked for Optimism for that period. And then finally, let's look at Optimism price for that period. So from July 10th, 2022 until August 10th, 2022, you see Optimism's price also grew from 50 cents all the way up to $2, actually. 4x increase, pretty crazy. But mind you, once this program ended, you see price quickly came crashing down. So even from the first week of August until the end of August, so in 3 weeks time, it dropped 50%. Back down to $1, and then it eventually came all the way down to 67 cents just 2 months after. So this was definitely a short-term initiative that saw a major boost in all Optimism ecosystem, but it came crashing down after. Keep that in mind. Okay, now that we know the kind of rough effects this will have on an ecosystem, let's look at what's happening on Arbitrum. Oh, and yeah. Okay, let's look at Arbitrum. So once this program goes live on Arbitrum, you see Arbitrum's TVL is still not yet ticking up. So you see right here from $1.6 billion of total value locked, that's been about the same level for the past 2 months or so. It has not been changing, which means this incentive program is not yet live. And Arbitrum's price still hasn't saw a significant move yet. So My opinion on this is that from now, especially in October, once people realize that this incentive program is there, and once it gets passed, Arbitrum's total value locked will start to move, and Arbitrum short-term price action will start to tick up. But after looking at what happened with optimism, I think the actual effects of this will be very short-term. This is just a short-term rotation, short-term narrative, since there is no new money that's entering the entire DeFi space. So essentially, the same people that are farming on optimism on Ethereum mainnet, once they see this new rewards being propped up by the ARB tokens, they will flood into the Arbitrum ecosystem and their DeFi protocols for a 3 months period from now until January. And this will boost the total value locked and traction for all Arbitrum projects for 3 months. And that's it. Okay, so how do we play this? What will stand to grow the most for this program? Well, obviously, we have Arbitrum token itself. Because, looking at optimism price also grew 4x. So, number one, Arbitrum price could grow a lot from this during this period. So let's look at Arbitrum's price. So here we have Arbitrum daily chart. And you see this chart actually looks pretty clean also, the price levels. So Arbitrum has actually been in a consistent downtrend since its release in the first half of the year. And we have had this first little bit of a bounce starting from September, but price is coming back down to have this first correction and retest this interim, I would say, breakout and retest level. So that's right at 86 cents. So I think right around 86 cents is a pretty good entry target because we have a very clear stop loss right below the essentially all-time low at 76 cents. So in order for this short-term uptrend to continue, 76 cents needs to hold. So if we enter right at 86 cents, which is this previous resistance level that now acts as support, we can place a stop loss right at, let's say, 72, 73 cents. And that is not too far away. That is only a 16% stop loss buffer, pretty tight. And in terms of upside target, I can at least target something like these highs at $1.30. So that's about a 50% increase. So about a 3-to-1 profit to loss ratio or R&R ratio. So that's really good as a short-term trade. And the timeline matches up as well. So once this incentive program goes live on October 12th, that's only about 1 week from now. So we could see a potential bounce coming in from here where this incentive goes live. And leading into January of next year, so the incentive program will officially end right around end of January, so around this period. So you see the price growth over a 3 months period for it to grow 50%. That's pretty reasonable because it has dropped more than 50% even since just July. So in terms of a price rally, in terms of the typical price period for this kind of growth, it also matches up with this incentive program lasting 3 months. So that's my outlook for Arbitrum. I think we are just seeing this effect play out. Okay, so that's on Arbitrum. Now you might say, okay, well, this incentive program is very short term. What if it just quickly sees a price bounce, sees the initial rally, but it quickly comes back down? That's also quite possible because after all, these 50 million new incentive tokens of ARB tokens, they are coming from the Arbitrum treasury, which means they will be adding new supply to this circulating supply. So technically, these are new tokens that are being unlocked. Now, yes, these tokens will be distributed to the ecosystem users. They are not early investor tokens. The team cannot sell these tokens. They have to be distributed as rewards, which means each token will be directly adding to new users on Arbitrum. That is a good thing. However, there is still a significant unlock. How much of this will it look like? Here is the Token Unlocks app for Arbitrum, where we can see all the token unlocking schedule. So you see the current supply, not including the locked up tokens from the Arbitrum DAO treasury, that is 1.275 billion ARB tokens. And that matches up with CoinGecko and all the token trackers. So after this incentive program goes live and until the end of January 2024, 50 million extra tokens will be unlocked, which means this circulating supply that is currently 1.275 billion, that will grow to 1.325 billion tokens. That's not very significant. That is only about 4% growth in terms of circulating supply. So overall, the sell pressure is not going to be that big, but it is a little bit more sell pressure coming to the market. Now, one last thing about the Arbitrum token released that we have to watch out for. This incentive program will definitely be a short-term play for me that will last most likely only until the end of January, because right after the January release, you see right after here, where we have the incentive program ending, you see after March, on March 17th, 2024, there will be actually a huge cliff coming to Arbitrum where early investors and earning team tokens will start to be distributed. And you see on March 17th, the circulating supply of Arbitrum will grow from 1.275 billion to 2.386 billion. So it's going to see a double in March next year. So definitely pay attention to this. If you are playing this Arbitrum incentive program from now until January and the end of January, maybe even February, you are totally safe. But once March comes along, there is a pretty major token unlock. So I would not be holding Arbitrum going into March of next year. So pay attention to this. Okay, so that's on Arbitrum token itself. Now, in my opinion, Arbitrum token will see a short-term growth, but the actual play on this incentive program is going to be Arbitrum ecosystem altcoins. Because think about it. 50 million ARB tokens will come to the market. Yes, it will drive short-term hype for Arbitrum and the price and the TVL, but after all, these are just still newly unlocked tokens. They will drive hype, they will bring new users, and they will still be sold. So that's why the short-term hype will come for ARB token itself, but the Arbitrum ecosystem projects, well, they have no extra risk because what they stand to gain is just simply by applying for one of these grants, they will get the ARB tokens that they can distribute to their community, and this will boost all of their own platform users, their own DeFi users, and this will just naturally drive the price growth of their own tokens. And they have no extra risk. They don't need to, commit their own tokens to be unlocked. There's no risk for them. So in my opinion, Arbitrum ecosystem projects will be much better place for this incentive program. So let's dive into that. What are the top Arbitrum ecosystem beneficiaries to benefit from this program? In order to look at this, we have to look at a structure of how this ecosystem incentive is put together. So here is the most important thing to pay attention to. This is the criteria for any project to apply for a ecosystem grant in this ARB incentive program. So they have two main criteria. Number one, you have to be live for a certain amount of time, a certain amount of months on the Arbitrum mainnet. So your project have to be already functioning for a while. And number two, you have to either have a certain number of TVL, or you have to have certain number of 30-day trading volume if you are a decentralized exchange. So once you meet both of these criteria, you can have 4 tiers of grants that you can apply to. So you can, at the lowest tier, you can apply for maximum of 200,000 ARB tokens, which is right about $200,000. And that goes up to over 2 million ARB tokens that you can receive by applying for a grant, if you have really good traction and you qualify for the top tier. So with this in mind, what are the top Arbitrum ecosystem projects? So here we have DeFi Llama, and ranking by TVL, you see the top ecosystem projects for Arbitrum. We have GMX, we have Uniswap, which doesn't really count because they are live on all chains. And then we have Radiant, Aave, Stargate, Balancer, Camelot, Sushi, Pendle. Okay, so this is basically the top 10. So right away, there are already a top list of projects that we can pay attention to. Now, I also want to point out that in order for Arbitrum to really consider one of these projects to give grants to, and for these project tokens to do well with this Arbitrum ecosystem hype, they have to be really dedicated to the Arbitrum ecosystem instead of just being deployed on all chains. So what do I mean by that? Well, you see, GMX, everybody knows that it's the top projects for Arbitrum because it's only deployed on Arbitrum and Avalanche, and they have the most traction on Arbitrum. Similar thing for Radiant, they're deployed on Arbitrum and BSC, and they have the most traction on Arbitrum. And even better for Camelot, they are only deployed on Arbitrum. So they are a Arbitrum exclusive project. So Arbitrum, the DAO, the program, will favor these type of projects. Versus, for example, Uniswap, Aave, Stargate, Balancer, you see these projects are deployed on all kinds of chains. So they will not be able to catch on to this narrative hype, and they most likely won't receive that high of a grant because they don't exactly benefit Arbitrum exclusively. So that's the number 2 criteria that I would like to watch out for. So with this in mind, what are my topics for Arbitrum Altcoins going into this program? I'm going to give you my list right now. So number 1, my top pick would be GMX. Of course, everybody already knows GMX is the top DeFi project on Arbitrum. It's a decentralized exchange that everyone used to speculate on Arbitrum even before the ARB token went live. And when we look at the actual application, so our GMX by far has the biggest grant sites that they are applying for. So they are applying for 14 million ARB tokens as grant. They are number 1, and that's why they're applying for the largest amount. Now, will they get this large amount? I don't know, but they will definitely get the largest amount of grant from this program. So that's why I think GMX is by far, the best altcoin on Arbitrum in terms of this narrative and getting this grant. And when you look at GMX price, so it's also been on a pretty clear correction since April when the Arbitrum hype faded right after the Arbitrum token launch, and prices starting to rebound after this pretty significant correction. So all in all, I think GMX is a pretty good bet here. And if we really have to place a stop loss, you can even just place it right below the all-time low that's at $14. Okay, so that's actually still quite far away from all-time low. Yeah, so I will place a stop loss right here, right below 30, because yeah, this was when the incentive program was announced. So as long as this incentive program holds, And as long as Arbitrum continues to run, I would not like to see GMX price break down below $30. Yeah, so if I were to enter in GMX, I would place a stop loss below 30. Yep, that's what I would do. Okay, so that's on GMX. And the next project on Arbitrum that I think could really benefit from this is JonesDAO. Now, JonesDAO is one of the oldest running projects on Arbitrum. In fact, if you look at the price chart, JonesDAO has been running since January 2022. So this has been running for 18 months on Arbitrum. So this was one of the oldest projects. And this definitely helps them qualify because they have they qualify really overqualify for this number one criteria for the number of months that they are live. And in terms of number two criteria, well, they have total value locked of $18 million. So they are right within the between the Lighthouse grant tier and the Pinnacle grant tier. So they can apply for right about $2 million, maybe even slightly above 2 million ARB tokens as a grant. And that's what they did. So you see here for JonesDAO, they applied for 3 million total grant sites, which is worth about $2.6 million. Now, another good thing for Jones is that their circulating market cap is actually very low. They are only at $5.9 million. So if they get a $2.7 million grant, that's going to be almost half of their circulating market cap just from this grant that they are receiving. So that's why the effects this grant will have on their price will probably be pretty significant. And in terms of their price chart, you see they are starting to bounce as well after this program was announced. So putting a stop loss, I will also put it right below this low here at 80 cents. Let's say even at 70 cents. So as long as this 70 cents level holds, very convenient actually. That's also right around the all-time low for Jones back in June last year. So yeah, as long as the 70 cents level holds, I would say this uptrend will likely continue. And because Jones is pretty low cap, this is going to be one of the more risky altcoin positions on Arbitrum. But that also means the price growth potential is going to be a bit higher. So I will pay a little bit more attention to this and try to control your risk by controlling your position size when entering this. So, you know, if I'm scaling my positions, I would definitely put the most amount into Arbitrum and then slightly lower for GMX. And then for these smaller altcoins, such as JonesDAO, I'm going to put way smaller positions. But the actual upside potential is going to be much higher for this. Okay, so that's Jones. And then a couple more. Actually, in today's video that I just published for October, so for this video, I actually covered my number one pick for this Arbitrum incentive program, this Arbitrum hype, and that is Radiant Capital. So I think Radiant has probably the most upside potential compared to their market cap from this Arbitrum incentive program, because when we look at the total value locked for Arbitrum, they are number two, right? If we don't count Uniswap, so they are right behind GMX. And on top of this, Radiant not only has the Arbitrum incentive program going for them, but they also have a couple more catalyst events coming up for them. So number one is that they are launching on mainnet, on Ethereum mainnet on October 15th, which is going to drive up their total value locked even more. And they have the Layer-0 airdrop going for them. So you see Layer 0 airdrop is gaining a lot of hype because they have been teasing that the token is coming very soon. And Radiant Capital is the #1 DeFi platform built on top of Layer 0. So for all the farmers that are trying to get the Layer 0 token, they are actively using the Radiant platform. And very similar to how GMX saw a lot of growth before Arbitrum went live, people are using the Radiant Capital token as a proxy bet for the Layer 0 token before it goes live. So that's why there are actually 3 Catalyst events coming up for Radiant until the end of this year. And that's why my topic actually for the Arbitrum ecosystem narrative, Arbitrum Altcoins, is actually Radiant. So that's my few top picks, and just a couple more that I think are worth mentioning. So Camelot, this is the #1 decentralized exchange that is not a perpetual exchange, but a Uniswap fork that specifically serve the Arbitrum ecosystem. So this one actually is also worth paying attention to because it's Arbitrum exclusive. They will also most likely get a pretty big grant. So you see they applied for also 3 million ARB tokens. However, one thing to pay attention to is that the Camelot token has a very small amount of circulating supply versus the total supply. So 14,000 tokens are circulating versus 75,000 of the total. So that is only 20% circulating. So there could be some significant unlocks coming to Camelot, which is why I think this could see a short-term hype, but I wouldn't hold the Camelot token much longer. So I personally am not getting into Camelot. And last one that I think is a even like hidden gem, if I could say, because this is the lowest market cap on this list, but I think it has also pretty good potential. And it is a very legitimate project, and that is GMD protocol. So GMD protocol is a yield aggregator and smart vaults that specifically serve Arbitrum and takes advantage of GMX exchange. And this project is actually one of the oldest on Arbitrum. So you see it's been running since November of last year, just about 1 year after November. So this qualifies them for right now criteria 1, but almost at the top pinnacle grant level. So they are almost at the top level. And the GMD protocol, they are applying for a grant of 1.5 million total ARB tokens. Now this will be distributed across both GMD and GND, which is 2 of their top tokens. But these tokens are very small in market cap still. So this one is only at a 3 million, even fully diluted market cap. So if they even just receive, I think they're applying for 600,000 ARB tokens, that's worth $500,000. So if they just receive $500,000 to be distributed to these GMD stakers, that's still going to be quite a big upside boost for their token holders. So that's why I think this token itself is going to be one of the sleeper picks. Definitely higher risk because the market cap is so low. This is actually super low cap, but I think the potential is there. So yeah, and in terms of actual price action, I will also place a stop loss right below the September lows, right before this incentive program was announced. That's at $26. Yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah, and actually GMD is already trading pretty much at launch price. Yeah, so that's also another good sign for it. So overall, that's my picks for the Arbitrum ecosystem altcoins. My #1 and #2 is going to be GMX and Radiant. So I'm going to just bring up Radiant right here. Yeah, so my #1 and #2 picks are GMX and Radiant for this Arbitrum incentive program, this Arbitrum ecosystem hype. And my sleeper picks, there are two very low cap coins that could receive a pretty significant grant just for being very beneficial to the Arbitrum ecosystem, and that they are JonesDAO and GMD protocol. So yeah, 4 altcoins, pretty clear. Okay. Did I miss anything? No, I didn't miss anything. So overall, I think this is still just a short-term hype for the overall ecosystem because there is no new money that's coming into Arbitrum ecosystem. It's just simply a rotation from Ethereum mainnet, from other chains where the farmers are coming in to Arbitrum to farm this short-term incentive. So pay attention to this. I will most likely exit all of these positions by the end of January when this incentive ends. But from now until then, that's still a 3.5 month period where we could see some pretty significant growth and a pretty clear medium-term trade.